Eskom warns that the power system may be under strain as Koeberg units go offline. The ailing power utility says the power station's unit number 2 is due for a routine refuelling and maintenance outage. To discuss this further, we're joined by Eskom's Riedewaan Bakardien. Mr. Bakardien, thank you very much for your time this evening. So we have to celebrate to a certain extent 450 uninterrupted days since the last maintenance outage. This is also the 25th planned maintenance outage since the station was commissioned. Can you tell us a bit more about what exactly is going to be done and whether it's normal for such a unit to be offline for a period as long as 5 months?
Good afternoon, Annelie, and thank you for the opportunity. So it is normal that we do take the power station offline every 15 to 18 months or so, and that's to refuel the reactor and to perform normal maintenance. What is unusual this outage will be the scope of work we're doing. We will be replacing some big components on the plant. Most significantly, the steam generators. We have 3 on each of the units, so 3 steam generators will be replaced this outage, as well as one of the, for this unit, the reactor pressure vessel head. So big and important components that are critical, obviously, for the extended life of the plant, but also just to ensure that we maintain the plant in the state that we require it to be.
We're going to come back to that issue. Sorry, I do apologise for interrupting you. We're going to come back to that issue of extending the plant's lifespan a little bit later. But right now I want to touch on a main concern for many people watching this evening, and that would be the likelihood of increased power outages or load shedding during the period when this unit is offline. We do know that 9,200 megawatts, that's no joking matter, that's a lot of power production. And these units at Koeberg are absolutely key to Eskom being able to provide the country with stable electricity supply. So what is likely to happen during this 5-month period?
I mean, just one correction. It's actually 920, not 9,200. 9,200 would be a lot more concerning. But 920, these units are the biggest in the Eskom fleet, and actually the biggest single units in Africa. So 920 megawatts, each of the units at Koeberg, there's 2 of them, a total of just over 1,840. Out of a fleet in Eskom that is capable of around 50,000 megawatts, but which we normally would see ranging in the region of about 26 to 30,000 megawatts being the demand that's required. So 920 out of that is quite significant. And we should keep in mind that because the Koeberg unit, as you mentioned, Koeberg units are reliable. They run very consistently. So this unit, as you indicated, was it came back from its previous refueling outage 450 days ago and will be taken off now in the next few days. So that reliability is also something that's counted on. The other thing that we maybe don't mention is that because it's located in the Western Cape, it does serve an important role in terms of grid stability and also just the line losses that goes with this unit. So in total, it is a significant impact, and while the planning is certainly done to ensure that when Koeberg is down, that other units are available, so other maintenance is then planned around the Koeberg units coming off. So that means that if all goes well, we should be fine. We will have available capacity. The risk being that if we have unexpected breakdowns at some of the other power stations, then it might put the grid under strain.
Of course, this hasn't just it's not being done now out of the blue. It's planned for a certain time of year in summer so that there isn't greater strain on the electricity grid. But we do know that Eskom from time to time does, due to lack of ongoing maintenance, have these issues where sudden breakdowns occur and the system is placed under great strain. Should something unforeseen happen, what is the likelihood of nationwide load shedding kicking in for an extended duration?
So it doesn't really change the situation we've seen over the last few years, the fact that one unit at Koeberg comes off. As you mentioned, we do plan it so that it's in the summer months. We try and ensure that during June, July, August, which is when we typically see the greatest demand, that the Koeberg units are both up and running. And that's exactly the plan here. However, we should keep in mind that the way the whole network is set up is that it is capable of losing additional units and without impacting on the stability of the grid, to be able to still be able to come in with additional peaking capacity, so our open cycle gas turbines that we have as backups. However, at times, if we do find that there's an increasing number of breakdowns, obviously then that's when things could be, we could find the grid being put under strain. But the plans have been set up well in advance over the last year or so. We've had this plan in place. So the other units, the other Koeberg, or sorry, Eskom units have gone through their maintenance. They are now have been returned and will be available during this period when Koeberg is available to provide the space. So it doesn't really change the situation to some extent that you have to, that we have a plan, and if all goes according to plan, then we can manage.
So we do also have to highlight, of course, the fact that this is a nuclear power station. It's not entirely the same as planned maintenance at any of other Eskom's units. Is there any danger in opening and refueling the reactor vessel, and perhaps any danger related to some of the other slightly bigger tasks that you are planning to undertake during this specific outage?
Well, yes, it is a nuclear unit, so we do have to take very specific precautions, overseen very closely, I must say, by our national nuclear regulator, who will monitor all of the work we do during the outage. But we've done this is the 25th time on this unit, so in total 50 times that we would have shut down the reactors at Koeberg to remove the fuel and to then do maintenance. Once the maintenance is completed, we put the fuel back in together with some new fuel and then start up the reactor. So we've done that 50 times. We are very experienced in doing this. We've got highly trained staff. We have internal controls, our own quality processes internally, our own independent people that internally watch. And over and above that, before we complete any of the activities, such as replacing the steam generators, we will have the nuclear regulator also needing to confirm that they are comfortable we've met the requirements. And before we can start up the reactor, they will also need to give us the go-ahead. So among the controls that we do, we bring in very experienced contractors to do this. So we've got a French contractor that's leading the replacement of the steam generators, and they've done it at many stations in France and internationally. And so we've got that assurance that this is something that is well understood. We've got the plans in detail, how we lift up the steam generators, how we then move it out of the containment building. Because these are big components. We're talking hundreds of tons in weight for each of them, and they need to be controlled very well and done so in a safe manner. But it's been done at many stations internationally. Actually, most power stations have already undertaken this activity, so we've got lots of experience, and all of that has been incorporated in the plans that we've got to ensure we do it safely.
You mentioned a little earlier that two of the planned maintenance activities this time around would be part of a longer plan in extending the life of Koeberg. How much life do you think we can still get out of Koeberg as a power station in South Africa? What length of time would that be extended to?
So the current units at Koeberg are good from a licensing perspective to run until 2024, which means that the license we were given when Koeberg was initially started is due until 2024, or runs until 2024. What we need to do now is to assure ourselves and the nuclear regulator that we can extend that license for an additional 20 years. And that's what we are applying for. And the work that we're doing, replacing the steam generators, the reactor pressure vessel head, those are some of the activities that needs to be done. In addition, we're doing comprehensive studies to look at every component on the plant to ensure that it can run for an additional 20 years. And that studies are pretty well advanced. I've seen some recent reports that have been completed by engineers, and they've confirmed, as we stand, there are no issues that we cannot manage to be able to extend the life of the plant. But this is not something we're doing on our own. We will need to apply to the nuclear regulator by July of this year. We will be submitting our safety assessment reports to the nuclear regulator, and they will then scrutinize that over a 2-year period prior to the end of the current license to be able to provide us with a license to continue for an additional 20 years. What I should also say is that we are not by any means the first nuclear power plant of this type and of this design that's had its life or having its life extended. We know many of our colleagues internationally have gone on for an additional 20 years. They've had their licenses extended and are safely operating up to 60 years. And we have some now that have had their lives extended by an additional 20 years to run up to 80 years. The technology is good, it's well proven, well maintained, and we just need to make sure that we meet the requirements that the regulator has set for us in the regulatory guidance documentation to ensure that we will be successful with this work that we're doing. And what's pleasing to see is that we're actually making the progress. We're starting with this outage on Monday. And in the next 3 weeks, the work on the steam generators will start. And from there, it's a matter of continuing to tick off the items that's needed to extend the life of the plant.
And of course, Unit 1 at Koeberg will also see some planned maintenance later this year. Thank you very much for your time and for speaking to us. That was Mr. Riedewaan Bakardien. He's the Chief Nuclear Officer at Koeberg.